Hi, and welcome to the Comic Book Communicast, the official podcast of the Google Plus comic book community. This is issue number 63 for the week of June 7th, 2015. I am not Justin Beeson, and I am joined by my co-host, Sarah Evans.
Hi.
Each episode, we take a look at a few comics this week that we couldn't wait to read first, as well as talk about last week's community pick of the week and other content that generated discussion. So, Sarah, ladies first.
Well, this week I have Tiny Apollo here for a reason, because Midnighter #1 came out, and it looks like, this is one of the series that DC has announced that they're starting this month as a new issue #1 standalone. And it's apparently #1, or it's being heavily advertised on Comixology. So that must mean that either they're trying really hard or they're counting on it succeeding in sales. So hopefully they would have more invested in it. Or in the few days that it's been available, it's already done really well to the point where they want to make it the front page. So that's encouraging. This issue was kind of a trip. I've got to say it was a lot more interesting than I've been expecting based on other things that DC has tried to get off the ground with the Wildstorm universe or any of its characters since, fall of 2011. Because I think we all remember or have successfully repressed the Stormwatch series and the way that they just decided to take a bunch of ex-authority members in a comic called Stormwatch on Planetary's ship fighting a bunch of, I don't even remember, villains from Gen 13? No, it was something else. But they just threw all of the Wildstorm things in there. Yeah, kind of a little bit. Zealot was there for like 2 seconds. But that was a hot mess, and they shelved it pretty much as fast as they could, which was hard for me to understand because the writer was bringing it on Demon Knights, but he just couldn't get it together with Stormwatch. But I guess it, based on what you have to work with, is varying degrees of success. But this issue, Midnighter #1, wow, it will not give me the front page. Okay, so written by Steve Orlando. I've never heard of this person before, so he was refreshingly well paced. And I thought that he probably wrote the Midnighter as well as anyone could, given the backstory that was set up here. So I don't know if that's something he came up with or something that editorial handed down, but we'll get to the hot points on that in a second. Sorry, the pencils are. Does anyone know what ACO is supposed to be? Because I assume that's somebody's name. And I've never heard of them before, but they have a style remarkably like Brian Hitch, who also does the alternate cover for this one, and he was headlining on The Authority when it first got off the ground, when it was written by the inimitable Warren Ellis. And the way that this ACO did the shadowing, and his anatomy was a little off sometimes. People's torsos would look a little bigger and kind of twisted than they needed to be. Someone's reach would be a little long and their shoulder was dislocated. But it was just in spotty areas every now and then that you'd see. And moreover, it was like, no, it was really meets expectations. No, and very Hitch-like in inspiration, apparently, which if that's something that he was trying to do intentionally, then bravo, he very much succeeded. I had to go and grab the issue to make sure that it wasn't actually any of the artists on The Authority that I recognized. But as we start off this issue, it takes us to the God Garden, which we've only seen sporadically in crossover issues of Nightwing, which it looks like they're trying to keep that style. And like the way that they did this satellite spaceship entity in space, kind of as a standalone, like think of the Justice League's Watchtower or something of the sort, where weapons are grown. And its caretaker, the gardener, also from not necessarily a Wildstorm character from before now, although the backstory that they have here with the God Garden is where organic weapons are grown, and they're used for varying reasons on various projects with certain political outcomes or assassinations or whatever the gardener's agenda happens to be. It's very much like Bendis, who is like one of the main bad guys in Warren Ellis's Stormwatch series, where with Jenny Sparks and a lot of amazing characters who ended up all getting killed horribly. That's aside the point. The Gardener seems kind of Bendis-esque in her casual treatment of human life and these superheroes that she's kind of using as her agents. Spends the first few pages getting her ass kicked by a mysterious new villain who proceeds to make off with every single weapon that this garden has, which, I mean, the few that they introduced in the first few issues were, it was basically a game of chess between this new guy's gadgets and the gardener's gadgets. Was really interesting. It was fast-paced, the action was good. The gardener's this tiny old Asian woman, and she's holding her own against this really kind of muscly, mysterious-looking hitman, which I wasn't sure if he was Midnighter at first, and this was some sort of backstory, or, you know, it starts off with him coming to take revenge against his former boss or something, but no, different guy. As it turns out, once the Gardener is seen to have been bested by this guy, it pans to Midnighter on a date, so not with Apollo, and that makes me really unhappy, because I obviously am a huge Apollo fan, which is why I have Apollo's action figure and not Midnighter's, because, I mean, at least canonically, Apollo's like a mountain of moral fortitude and strength of will and just this incredibly kind, good, true person who was also the most amazing single dad in the universe after Midnighter fucking walked out that one time because he was being an idiot and not talking to his husband about something some mysterious person told him about the future, which, if you're a superhero, how do you even do that? So yeah, just walk out on your husband and small child. But Apollo picked up the pieces because he didn't have any choice. And this is just like an amazing fucking superhero. And the dialogue essentially intimates that they've just broken up. So I'm assuming that this Midnighter series is picking up on the heels of Stormwatch, and that the Grayson crossovers have also taken place in a similar timeline, because they had the obligatory romantic drama in Stormwatch, because God knows you can't have a happy and functioning gay couple, let alone a gay married couple, let alone a gay married couple with a daughter who they're awesome parents and role models to. I mean, now, God forbid.
In DC's defense, nobody gets a happy couple.
Sure. But I remember the 2012 February Valentine's Day issue right after the reboot, where they had about 4 or 5 couples that were all heterosexual couples and also like Apollo and Midnighter, and everyone else had a happy little mushy feel-good Valentine's Day short story, and Apollo and Midnighter did not. They just had drama with Apollo flying away like all hurt and Midnighter being alone and broody. That was what they had. So I'm really, really hoping that they break out of this trend, because, God, 2-page sex scene on a table aside, Midnighter could not stop talking about Apollo. So I'm really surprised that this guy didn't run screaming, especially after getting injected with some sort of GPS thing by Midnighter, like he's Will Smith from Men in Black or something, like, oh, that was good sex we had, now I need you to look here. That's a little, I mean, the guy even admits, like, hey, you're coming on a little strong. But he just talks about Apollo constantly, and how, you know, Apollo's better off without him, and how great and awesome and strong and how he is, and how immediately they clicked, and how he's like the love of his life. And I'm like, this had better be leading up to them getting back together. Like, it really had better. I'm sorry to go on and on about the romantic side of things, but honestly, you can't write the Midnighter successfully without writing his heart, because that's what keeps him from being gay Batman, is the people that he comes home to at the end of the day. And that's what's always made him a remarkable superhero for me. So I'm really hoping that this is where this is leading. Issue ends pretty anticlimactically with him showing up at the God Garden because the gardener, you know, hit him up on his brain phone or something, and essentially assigns him to go and get back all of these weapons that have just been stolen. So I'm like, okay, first story arc, firmly established, romantic drama, firmly established, art is proficient, story is interesting, for all that some teams are like, what? And it looks like they're resuming the Lucas Trent potential backstory as well, which I really hope is just something the Gardener is using as a ploy to get the Midnighter motivated to go and chase down this guy, because he wasn't happy when he found out that she'd let this dude escape with everything. And she essentially dangles this, oh, you were this person. You had a life before this. Your name was Lucas Trent. That information is gone too. And him grimacing determinedly as the issue ends. But they pursued this backstory before. It was completely uninteresting in every way in a previous Midnighter series, once again, where he was off on his own being Mr. Broody Pants, while Apollo just sat around the carrier and made card towers or whatever. But it turned out not to be true and just a complete hoax. And he wasn't this guy named Lucas Trent. And like the majority of Warren Ellis characters had no identity except for his main identity, which, you know, Warren Ellis, some characters don't have a code name and they're just their identity, like Jenny Sparks or Jack Hawksmoor. And some characters have no name or human identity or past and are just their code names and superheroes all the time, like Apollo and the Midnighter. So really hoping that the Lucas Trent thing doesn't come to anything in this series as well, because it's definitely one of the most played out Midnighter tropes to go into. Even in Stormwatch, they did a whole thing where like his real name was Lucas Trent and he and Apollo remembered everything from their past, and it was really uninteresting. So yeah, this story looks promising if they do it in one of several ways. I'm really going to be following this series. I might be tempted to add it to a pull list, which would be kind of legendary for something starring these characters in years. Sorry to go on and on. I think
That's
we have
fine.
about
Yeah.
a 5-second lag.
No. I was muted.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, it's fine to go on. I mean, like, this is a new series, so yeah, everybody's coming new to it.
Right.
And I think the reason why you're seeing such a big splash for this is because, you know, DC is trying to, like they say, like a story for everybody, and they're really trying their best to be inclusive of, you know, different styles of storytelling, different styles of art, and excuse me, in their characters in general. So this is like their premier gay character, and so they're pushing that to the forefront, and you know, that's good for them. Yeah, exactly. So hopefully it'll be like the story of them getting back together. That would be cool.
Hopefully.
Or
What was
maybe
your series this week, Paul? Or sorry, whatever else you were about to say. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, that's what I was getting ready to get into. So my issue this week was Suicide Risk number 25, and it was brought to us by Mike Carey, who created the book and wrote it, with art by Elena Casagrande, colors by Andrew Elder, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. Elena had ink assist by Michelle Pasta and Simone Di Meo, and layout assist by Georgia Sposito. So Suicide Risk is something I've been talking to you guys about for, 2 years now, because it's on issue number 25. It starts out as a superhero story, and the whole, you know, we've seen before about like superheroes from the cop's eye view, and then it turns into this completely other thing. It's kind of like if you watch Fringe, where you think it's basically like this X-Files clone, and then all of a sudden they're dealing with this other universe, and it just you realize you had no idea what the show was about from the beginning. It was the same thing with this. All the people who are like given superpowers through this this wand that these people were using, like they're basically selling it at like a drug. You know, you pay them several thousands of dollars, they'll touch you with a wand, and you may or may not then have superpowers. So when you first read it, you're thinking that, okay, superheroes is their twist on and all that. No, not at all. What it turns out is these people are actually like basically prisoners. They've been exiled from their own universe to ours, and then like given new identities and whatnot to keep them docile. And this, what they call the P1 that these people have been using, has basically been waking up their original selves to a degree, where so like they have the powers, and then they, as they as the time goes on, become more and more aware. But it's not till much later in the series when basically they're all woken up because the authorities in their universe, they from a planet called Ultramar, and when the authorities there realize that they're waking up, then they're afraid that they're going to come back and continue the rebellion. So basically, they make up their mind to basically wipe out the Earth and try and get rid of all of these exiles once and for all. And it's a really good story. And like the heart of the story is this guy Theo. He's a cop, and he's tired of always losing to these superpowered criminals. So he goes and he pays to get the wand treatment, and it turns out that he was originally the leader of this rebellion, and he's just like incredibly powerful. And we learn this through the course of the comics. And so he's trying to find a way to make peace between the two universes. And the problem is, so Leo's got his family, he's got his wife, his daughter, and his son. But it turns out that he was married originally, like his original self was married. And so now that the two worlds are kind of collided, his wife on Earth is having to deal with the fact that he's got this other wife, and that their daughter is the first wife's daughter, who was also exiled. Yeah. So there's a lot of that family tension. It's like, this is my kid. No, this is my kid. And then, and my husband while we're at it. So there's a lot of really interesting tension there going on. And at the end of the day, it actually turns out that the daughter is the hero of the whole thing. She is got more power than even her father does. She's just got like godlike powers.
Like Jenny Quantum powers.
So what?
Like Jenny Quantum powers, subatomic manipulation, which basically includes every superpower.
More like the ability to warp reality.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. But so like and the reason why I'm telling you basically the whole thing is I think this is the last issue. The way that they ended it seemed to pretty much wrap up the whole storyline. So if that's the case, then good, because I hate it when they just let something go too long. But if they come up with something awesome to continue it, I'll definitely be there. Like I said, this is the 25th issue, so that means they'll probably either just wrap up this last one in like a trade, or they might do like something with all of them together. I don't know, but now that it's over, if it is in fact over, then this is a perfect chance to jump on board, because you don't have to worry about being forever behind. But it's been a really good book. It's from Boom Studios, and I can't recommend it enough. It's one of the few non-image books that I've been really enjoying lately. So that was Suicide Risk number 25, possibly the last one of the series. So what else was in your pull box?
Honestly, I haven't looked at it too heavily this week. I owe my comic store a small fortune at this point. And I think there might have been, no, none of my, I'm not quite sure, because I pruned down the list recently as well. So the new Spider-Man series that just came out with a #1 with him and Mary Jane and looking like their daughter looks interesting. Probably going to be getting that / giving it a read. Beyond that, I haven't seen much else. Thinking about picking up that Star Wars series that just came out, because that new issue that just came out, because of the Han Solo related drama. But yep.
Yeah, I really like what I've seen with the advertisements for the new Spider-Man, where it's like get ready to renew your vows or whatever. And I would really like to see, like we've all talked about this, on the show. Yeah, it'd be great to see a depiction of, a happy family.
Right.
That would be great, and it would be highly unusual. So yeah, him as Spider-Man with raising a daughter with Mary Jane. What's wrong with that? I think that would be really interesting.
Would be. And as we discussed previously, it would be something that they'd have going for them market-wise that DC does not.
Yeah, just one more thing. One more thing. All right, so the rest of my pull box today was Death Vigil number 7, and The Bunker number 11. So both of them continuing to be awesome. And yeah, that was it.
Now, we've been doing this show for almost 2 years because I remember we started it up in fall of 2013.
Yep.
And I think that, sorry, not soon after we started, The Bunker, the first issue was one of several that you were reviewing on a show. So it's been almost 2 years, and they're at issue 11?
Well, what happened was, so they originally were doing like self-published or like published through Comixology. They were doing their own thing. And so each issue was like very small. It was like 5 pages or something like that. And then they got picked up by, which studio is it? By Oni Press, I think it is. Yeah, by Oni Press. And so then there was a break, and then they re-released the ones that they had done before in like full-size comics. So now I think the first like 3 issues just covered what had already been done, and then started carrying on from there.
Okay, so consolidated. That makes sense. Wow.
Yeah. This is a really good, twisty time travel story. I think if you like Lost, you'll enjoy this. If you like, what's the one, like The Messengers, I think has kind of a similar kind of plot. You'd enjoy this. There's not like a lot of like superhero action. It's all like character study and whatnot, but it's a good book. It's like this group of friends find this bunker, and there's all these letters and paperwork in there from themselves from the future, where apparently something went horribly wrong and almost killed off the human race. So now they're trying to follow the letters that they wrote to themselves to prevent that from happening. So. All right, so Sarah, we haven't seen you for a few weeks, so we've discussed a lot of stuff around here that over the last couple of weeks that we really wanted to hear your opinion on. So we don't have Justin, and we've got some time. So what's on your mind?
Oh, my hair. So y'all talked about Mad Max last week, right?
Yes.
I'm assuming that everyone freaking loved it, edge of their seats, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
If they're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in Justin.
Yes.
Okay, good. Michelle and I went to see that the first weekend that it came out, which when they were showing the trailers about a year or so ago, I guess, when they first started showing them in theaters, it was that, and there was Avengers 2, and I would never, ever have guessed that I would be going to watch Mad Max excitedly, like motivatedly, before watching Avengers 2, which I'm still putting off going to see. We might be redboxing it at this point. But it was incredible. It was like a superhero movie revelation. I probably did not watch a third of it because I was hiding behind my hands, but Michelle was incredibly helpful with describing what was or was not happening. I'm not really even sure where to start on this, like with the cinematography or with the casting or with any individual scene in particular or with the overarching social political commentary. It's just everything about this was an amazing superhero movie to me.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about Charlize Theron? Like, oh my gosh, she deserves definitely some kind of award for that acting. I know that we've like discussed this like off camera before, but oh God,
that's what we're saying. She deserves all the awards, like all of them, even if they're like she deserves like musical awards. Just give her the awards.
Best animation, Charlize Theron. Oh my God. Yeah, wow. Apparently, like, it was incredibly tense on set because Tom Hardy is a method actor. And so he was like constantly like really, really grumbly and really morose and like focused and like in it all the time. And Charlize Theron was taking it like 500% absolutely seriously. So allegedly it was a very tense several months of filming for everyone else involved.
So
And
I heard the opposite. I heard that
really?
she was the doing the method acting, but I don't know.
Huh?
I heard that she was the one doing the method acting, but
Maybe
I don't
she was
know.
just so serious and so furiosa-like that they thought that, oh man, she's doing it too. Wow, okay. But no,
So,
I mean, either way, I can definitely see because, I mean, they both completely brought it.
yep.
No pun intended. It was definitely Furiosa's narrative driving the movie, as it
Well, I
were.
mean, absolutely. And that's what and that's what everybody said. Like basically, Mad Max is just kind of Max is like our window into it. You know,
Uh-huh.
he's co-starring in his own movie, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
definitely Charlize Theron's movie.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Whoa.
Speaking of women, we really wanted to find out your opinion on the new Supergirl.
Oh, my
Have you seen
God.
the extended trailer, the extended first look?
I'm pretty sure the extended trailer was the first one we saw because it lasted about 10 minutes. And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, really? Is this like the first episode or something? But no, oh my God. I know that there's conflicting views on her costume, but
Mhm.
as far as the narrative goes, I am so excited. And the casting as well, because oh my gosh, this girl can act like she is Kara Zor-El to me. And I mean, she's a relatively unknown actress aside from a few like the brief arc that she was on Glee. I mean, it's just wow, she has a lot of talent. I feel like she's going to be a really big name after this series. And I'm sure that with the phenomenal trailer uh, trailer that they just put out, it's going to wow, the viewership's got to be huge. I mean, I'm really, really hoping that the series does well so that I mean, it looks like the casting was incredible. I'm so excited about Jimmy. I'm so excited about her sister, and it looks like how they're building a positive relationship there when, I mean, very obviously it's like how do we tell Kara she was adopted? She probably figured it out at an early age. And
And she started lifting cars.
yeah, just a little apparent there, Ma and Pa. Um, no, or her root family, that is, whatever backstory they're using there. But oh my God, I love that they have a family with adoption as a factor and they're portraying it positively where, you know, she's close to her sister and it's great. Her
So, you know,
personality is spot on.
the,
Sorry?
the entire first episode has leaked online, like in super clear high def.
I have not seen it. I have not found it actually. And
Yep.
honestly, at this point, I doubt that my elderly Mac could support it. But
It's gotten a lot of positive reviews. So
oh my
very
gosh.
my cautious optimism is going up.
Well, I would really hope that that doesn't prevent people from watching the pilot when it airs on television, or if they're going to start with episode 2 now that the first one is
No, I'm
readily
sure.
available, or however they do
No, I'm
that.
sure they'll air the pilot. What I think, and what some other people have been speculating on the internet, is that CBS released this. They leaked it on purpose to to gauge reaction, because I think the reaction to the initial teaser was very negative. People were saying like this is exactly like that SNL thing with the SNL did like a fake trailer for the Black Widow movie, talking about how
Yeah.
this was like a rom com. They're like, that's what this is, and like so it got really really slammed, and so they
By
released
some people.
yeah. Then they released the 6 minute first look, and then that was like more positive. So I'm wondering if maybe like, look, we don't know, is it which one of these camps are going to win? So they just leaked episode so that if it was like trash, they still had like 6 months to like
Hastily
film a new
rewrite.
pilot or something if they have to. So,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I would definitely believe it, but I would certainly hope that they would have more faith in their own product than this, given that, I mean, I thought it was incredible. And I think that just because a superhero a series trailer includes elements of, you know, possible romantic interests, or, you know, oh, she has friends and a job and
We just didn't want her to be
family
a
within.
flighty moron.
Well, that's the thing, though. Just because she's upbeat, because she's enthusiastic, because she acts like a realistic 20-something, you know, who has a more upbeat personality. I mean,
Well,
so the Flash seems
if you go
pretty
back and
optimistic the
look at
majority of the time, but
the original trailer, the original teaser trailer, I think you'll agree though. The way there's some beats in there where I was like,
I'll
there's
try
a
to
couple,
look it up.
yeah, but it definitely, my opinion definitely improved greatly when I saw the first look. So yeah, but like there's a couple beats in there where I was like, I don't know, this could really go either way.
I've
So,
heard that the 6-minute one includes, well, obviously they had more time for it, but I've heard that includes a lot more of the ass kicking side of things, with
yes,
bullets bouncing off of her and saving planes and things like that, which, I mean, I loved. So maybe if the first one did not have that, then I would have been a little more
yeah,
skeptical as well, just because of the natural paranoia about how are they going to do this female-led series. So yeah.
absolutely. And it's
Um,
understandable because they have not managed to do it very well.
because they haven't tried in the past, with
Yeah,
Wonder Woman having 3 secret identities and sitting in her
yeah,
apartment eating ice cream and crying over a guy in her
yeah,
pilot. So
exactly.
good
But
effort,
yeah,
guys.
this one's looking
Motivational.
good.
Yeah, no, oh my gosh. I mean, on the action side of things, I remember being swept off my feet or blown away or whatever the metaphor is when we were watching it, because the action was great. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this is the quintessential superhero. This is the kind of superhero series and the kind of action in a superhero series that I've been waiting to see. Like,
Yep.
this is what we didn't get from Smallville, and God knows that ran for a decade. Like, individual episodes, cool things would happen, villain of the week stuff with individual powers would happen, but it feels like either the choreography or the choreographers were not experienced enough yet with superhero genre TV series to make it engaging as, you know, comic book action in real life television, or I don't know what else was going on. But I mean, this is fantastic. And I mean, the shirt ripping open part, her glasses, I mean, it's all just so, I guess the hipster word is adorkable in the midst of all this ass kicking. It just makes it instantly appealing to me. So, oh my God, no, I guess we've got to find this pilot or something and get on board, because I'm definitely going to be watching this when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to see. I don't. Yeah, and I mentioned this last week. The only thing where they've really lost me is the outfit, and especially the skirt. You know, it's
Yeah,
like, if you're flying, you should not be wearing open bottom stuff. You know, you're above, don't wear a skirt.
I guess, but I mean, see, my generation grew up with Sailor Moon.
Yeah,
So we're very, very, very used to mini skirts over onesie leotards. So I just kind of assumed that that was what the situation was.
you got like black hose on or something, and it looks,
Sure,
even without
bike
the skirt, the
shorts.
whole thing looks horrible. They should have just gone with the new 52 look.
Uh,
And besides which, what they really needed to do was distance themselves as far as they could from that god awful movie. They should not make anybody recall that movie.
well, she
And
was
she
wearing a
looks,
similar costume for years and years and
yeah,
years.
I know, and I didn't think that that was great. Even when like she was originally in the comic books, I'm like, why is she wearing a skirt?
Oh
Why?
my gosh.
Plus, I like the new 52 outfit, and I like the new 52 haircut. I don't like the, but
Ugh. Let
I
me
love
tell
it.
you, that's a bad haircut. Like, that's such a bad haircut. Like the swept over bangs thing with the slanted cut, that's
Yeah.
done. It's done.
And the whole thing too. The other thing is, there's a lot of mention of Superman, so I'm glad that they're not trying to pretend that like he doesn't exist in this universe. But I hope
Sure.
they find ways. I know they're probably not going to be able to like actually have him in there, but you know, when you talk about family,
Hmm.
one of the main people that she should be like having that family relationship with is him, of
Yeah.
all people. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm excited for this.
I'd really like to see a cameo with him, like based on tradition, maybe in the first few episodes somewhere. But I'd really like them to not do the thing that they've been doing. I mean, I say they, like across the board with superhero TV shows. Um, with every single series where they'll have a crossover in like the first or second episode, and they have to give each other like a dramatic 15-second motivational speech or something like that. I'm like, can we not? Can we have a moment with them like relating to each other as family who are, you know, one of them is an established superhero and one of them is coming into her own, but they don't necessarily feel the need to motivate each other, because I'm sure that Clark as family, like Ma and Pa, like, you know, Kara's sister, like anyone else in her life, knows what she's capable of and has faith in her, because it looks like they're building it up as she has been part of a functioning family unit. So fingers crossed there, definitely.
Let's see, what else? What other news have you not been able to you've been chomping at the bit?
Oh God, there was something, but it was several weeks ago. This is bad. I don't know. I feel like we moved on from that. Like there's been Communicast since. Sorry?
Did you read any of the Convergence books?
I have the Batgirl one waiting for me, but I haven't looked into it. And honestly, I did not hear anything out of my usual review site outlets on Batgirl that was like phenomenal. Like social media wasn't blowing up on it one way or the other. Or never mind. Sorry, cat. I thought Michelle had something Cassandra Cain related, since she usually does. But
do we know what the status quo is going to be for Batgirl, or is she just basically going to stay the same as she was before Convergence?
I have not really heard anything on it, honestly, like one way or the other, which I have assumed meant that it was a silly little one-shot that they did to get readers and make a few extra bucks by drawing in characters that they know that older fans are really committed to. So I'll follow up on that for next week and see what they may or may not be doing with it. Because that could lend itself to what direction is Tim Drake as a superhero taking, since he was part of that trio that was headlining that issue as well.
I wonder if he'll be part of that whole We Are Robin thing. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's actually been a rather slow week for news this week. We don't have any new movies coming out. Well, I mean, we've got Ant-Man, but we already knew that. So
God.
Any new reveals about that? No new reveals about TV shows. No new TV shows starting. So, yeah, I think that about covers it this week.
Well, hey.
Full week for news.
We're almost up to an hour.
Yeah, that's okay. Not bad for just two of us.
Well, God knows we can talk and talk and talk, especially when it comes to me and recycled Wildstorm characters.
Oh, that's what when you're talking about the whole Wildstorm thing, I think what happened with that was DC finally got his hands on some like Marvel style characters and like, wow. But what they failed to realize, but what the fans quickly realized, is DC and Marvel, the way they approach their heroes is completely different, and therefore the Marvel style heroes don't work in the DC style universe. So it's good now that they're doing this convergence thing, so they can kind of have like all these little bubble universes, because maybe they can reconstitute the Wildstorm stuff and leave it alone.
Right. Sorry, the cat's crying because she's not being paid attention to, which is typical. She'll be fine. I agree with you that DC definitely didn't know how to handle the style, but I also think the Wildstorm style was satirical heavily in such a way that they could do it because they had a lot of writers on board who are way smarter than anyone else, like Warren Ellis, but we're still committed to telling a story with their characters and not making it completely sarcastic, which, what the hell were they thinking letting Mark Millar take on the series? I guess they were banking too heavily on the, he can do satire side of things and not enough on the, he tends to get entire teams full of female characters and queer characters raped en masse in his comics. They just don't pay enough attention to that, which is why Apollo is also a sexual abuse survivor. Yay!
Yeah.
Millar. Sorry, I have feelings about Millar on The Authority. But aside from that situation, they had a lot of artists who could pull off that satire. Like they had entire teams that were parodies of entire other teams from like the Gold and Silver Ages, and they made it work because Apollo and the Midnighter, everybody knows, showed up as Batman and Superman spoofs, but their entire original team, created by Henry Bendis, was like that. There was a Wonder Woman spoof. I think it's pretty heavily implied that Apollo was already banging it out with this Martian Manhunter parody guy, which I guess he likes him scary beyond all reason. I mean, and they all got killed, of course, but you had entire teams set up like this. There was a story arc, one of my favorite, in his old Stormwatch series. Actually, it was a different person writing it by then, where Jenny Sparks deals with the death of another Superman pastiche, who basically ends up trying to take over the world to save it from itself. And like, this was something that would happen incredibly regularly in the Wildstorm comics. And once DC got it, they didn't know how to handle that. They didn't know how to handle the intelligent way that these characters had been created and been allowed to develop from there on, with their own narratives and their own, oh God, the fact that all of these issues and these story arcs were just a commentary on the world that we live in, and themes in society. And, you know, it was very much an outlet for what that writer was trying to say with that story. And the fact that they were able to tell a good and engaging story around that, DC couldn't do it because they were trying to sell issues, and they were trying to be very New 52 in September of 2011.
But also, it's like, just like you said, though, like a lot of these people, a lot of these characters were pastiches of DC, existing DC characters. So it's like, you've already got a Batman. Why do you need to have this satirical Batman?
Because Midnighter Batman has his family situation handled, at least when written well, and doesn't traumatize his child.
So it's just, I think it's better to keep it in its own universe where it makes sense. I just don't think it makes sense in the DC universe. So I think that was part of their problem. They were trying desperately to mix the two. So,
well, this writer, Orlando, seems to have a pretty good handle on the Midnighter, based on what I read on a sentence-to-sentence basis, which he even has his little catchphrase, "Love is heart," that he got printed on a business card that one time. You know, I've got a computer in my brain. I've already fought this fight 1,000,000 times in my head, and et cetera, et cetera. He's got a whole speech that he says every time, and I can just imagine his family like going like, ugh, in the background, like, "I thought you took away the cards. I thought that was you," because that's like the dork that he is. And it looks like, just based on a line here and a line there, Orlando's writing him that way to start off. But to really cement the Midnighter as a character, he needs what makes him original, and that's his heart. So please, I didn't mean to go back to the Midnighter. I didn't mean to.
It's okay. No, it's okay. All right, so I think that's about it for tonight.
Lois.
Oh, the well, that's what I was gonna say. The Baltimore Comic Book Baltimore Comic Con is coming up in September. Are you going?
I'm definitely going. Are you going?
Oh, I'll be there.
Sweet, let's rock it out. Michelle, we're going to Baltimore Comic Con, right? Yeah, when is it? It's in September. Okay,
yeah. All right. Okay, we'll see you then.
All right.
All right.
Good night.
The Communicast home on the web is #Communicast on Google Plus and cbcpodcast.tumblr.com, where you can find all of our episodes in audio or video, as well as links for subscriptions, downloads, anything else we mentioned on the show. We would also greatly appreciate any shares of our show on Google Plus and those other social networks, as well as rating and subscribing on iTunes to help get the word out. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night.
Night.
Night. Good night, Sarah. Good night, Apollo.